All right.
Let's tilt this down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm,
it's
there we
between
go.
the two things. It's impossible to get a decent looking
I think we got it. We got it.
thing. So we're live.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Scary.
It's just like doing a podcast, except we won't have to edit this.
That is the advantage.
Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in again for the live stream, and I want to introduce Adrienne Osborn. If you don't already know
If you're
Adrienne,
on the Performance High channel and you don't know who I am,
right?
you don't know who I am. Do you know who I am?
We're going to talk about that. I thought it would be fun since you're home, which normally Wednesdays is your in studio day. So you're not normally home when I do the live stream. So I thought it would be fun to talk to you about your development as an artist because you have a very interesting story. I have the most generic of stories in that
started playing guitar at 13.
I started playing guitar at 13 because I was not cool and I wanted to be cool. And
you succeeded in that.
it almost worked. So close.
You told me how everybody started paying attention to you, like suddenly girls wanted to be with you.
And I was extremely lucky in that Nirvana came out, and being a grungy kid who played guitar was not cool at all. And then Nirvana came out, and then all of a sudden that was the coolest thing to be. And I had spent 2 years getting picked on for being a grungy kid with holes in my jeans and playing guitar all the time. And then all of a sudden it was a cool thing to be. So I got lucky that way. You, though, went a different way.
I did. I went a very different way.
So let's talk about you sometimes talk about it as having 3 lives, right?
Yes.
So
yes, 3 lives. So my first passion was water skiing.
Right.
Not something you can make a career out of, but something I took very seriously. Seriously enough that I started the Stanford water ski team, and then I moved to Florida after I graduated. Right. And worked for a pro skier and tried to get on the pro tour, and I skied 3 times a day and blah, blah, blah. So that was life number 1.
Multiple time national champion. So not too shabby.
Yeah. Yeah, I took it seriously for 16 years. Then life number 2 overlapped with that. Of course, water skiing is not exactly a way to make a living, especially as a woman, because there's a lot more prize money for men. So overlapping that, I was a software developer. So I was in IT for 12, 13 years or so. I got a computer degree from Stanford, and then I worked in the .com boom, and I developed websites, not just sites, but like back-end stuff, database procedures and ticket tracking systems and all this kind of stuff. That was my second career, my second life. And then the company that owned the last company I worked for laid off everybody in Colorado and shut our doors. And I had some time to think about what to do. So I was like, well, I've got some time. I've never had some time on my hands. So I'm going to take a voice lesson. And that's where it all began. I took a voice lesson. And then I started to join bands. And then I started teaching. And then I brought on more teachers. And blah, 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 blah. Here we are today.
Here we are. Yeah. So how, I think it's valuable for people out there to hear, how old were you when you decided you were going to make music the thing?
I guess when I consciously decided, I was 36. I started doing music when I was 33, but there was about a 3-year overlap between me still doing contract work in IT for a living and starting to make money from music.
And of course, there's certainly nothing wrong with, working seriously on your music and still doing something else.
Absolutely. In fact, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
For most people.
I mean, I guess everybody's journey is different, so jumping in might be your thing. But yeah, so let's talk about, how long had you been doing music when I met you?
Let's see, we met in 2011, so I've been doing music for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I joined a band as a backup singer in 2006. That was the first time I'd sung on a microphone.
Yeah.
And then I started teaching in 2009. And then I joined the band that we met in the same year that we met. So it was 2011. I joined it in the spring and you joined in the fall.
Okay, cool.
And I had just started learning to play bass maybe a year or two before we met.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about artist development, let's talk a little bit about your sort of path in, well, let's talk about just performing. You said you started as a backup singer. Was the band, no, you had been the lead singer in a couple other projects.
Not when I became a backup singer for this band.
No, but when I joined the band you were already in.
Oh.
Because you had been in Star and you had done the jazz.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, the very first band I joined, I was a backup singer. Then it was my current vocal, not current now, but current then. My vocal coach at the time invited me to join that band. Then she and I started a wedding band.
Right.
And then I started a jazz band. And then I joined Girls on Top, one of 3 female leads.
Girls on Top.
And then I started Star, which was my first original project. So that was yeah, I had 2 bands where I was the lead singer before I met you.
Right.
Yeah. So I was still pretty nervous to be a solo lead singer. I remember when we, the first year or so that we did gigs with Urban Dance Theory, which is the top 40 cover band that we met in, I would perform, but I would constantly like look sideways and make eye contact with you. Like, you're my lifeboat. Like, are you still there? Like, am I doing okay? I mean, I don't even know what I was thinking. It wasn't conscious, but it was just like, I have someone there who is paying attention to me and supporting me, and I'm okay.
And as either a coach or as a side guy, because that's my main deal, is being a side guy. That's my job.
Yeah. And I would look at you. I'm supposed to be. And I would see that you were looking at me, and I'd be like, okay, everything's still all right. I'm still supported.
Yeah.
And you didn't do anything but just like, maybe nod or smile.
I think sometimes I almost freak singers out because I am watching the singers. Like, and they're like, why are you looking at me? I'm like,
you freaked me out in the audition rehearsal, like the first, I guess it was the audition, where like I was just doing my thing, just singing. Like, I hate auditions, so many people are not good. Right. So I was just doing my thing. But every time my eyes would get, like, just happen anywhere near you, you were on me, and I was like,
I have to.
You're intense, man.
It's not even intensity. I'm backing you up. I want to be right.
Yeah.
And one thing I would like to ask about, because we've talked about it. One thing I thought that was brilliant that you did is you used a lot of those gigs to work on specific skills in performing.
Yes.
So you would approach a gig as, this gig, I'm going to.
Right. Yeah. Because you can have all kinds of knowledge in your head about when it's good to change the angle that you're standing on stage at, when it's good to take a step and move, when it's good to lean on the microphone and, like, bend it or whatever. There's a million little things you could do, and you can read a book about it or watch some videos or think about it and think, oh yeah, that all makes sense. I could do that. But until you practice doing those things, on your own, woodshedding in your own space, and then on stage, they don't become part of who you are as a performer. So I would pick 1, sometimes 2 things per 4-hour gig and be like, I'm gonna get this skill down. And it was such a blessing to have, like, to be the, I was like the 95% lead singer. Rolf would take a song once in a while. Yeah. But I got to do 8 to 12 hours of performing per month.
Right.
And I really worked some stuff out. So that band was where I finally gained confidence and really felt like I knew my style, my stage style.
No, I watched you figure it out, and it really informed because I wasn't coaching or doing artist development stuff yet. I guess I had done artist development stuff my whole life, because all of the singers I had worked with and lead people, that's part of where I'm coming from, is coaching, is I've helped kind of build several people up as just going through. But watching you go from maybe a little not so confident to being like, I'm going to blow the back wall out of this room, like no matter what, what really watching you do that really informed a lot of what I started turning into coaching.
Yeah, you were coaching me. We would have long phone calls between gigs about analyzing things that I'd done or having ideas for things I could try.
Right. And that's what I'd always done with
Yeah.
singers, was like
Yeah.
lots of long phone calls, usually with less attractive people, but it's mostly dudes is my point. But yeah, we would talk all the time about
Right.
like working on this, working on that.
Right. And then we had even more of those conversations when I shared a song. No, how did AO start? AO, the band. You sent me a song called Young Blood by the Naked and Famous.
That is right.
That's the
Oh
song.
my gosh, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, Naked and Famous. And that song got into me. And I wrote a song inspired by that song called 2 and 2.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the moment or how you said it, but you wanted to be part of making original music with me. So
you sent me the demo and I was like, well, we should pursue this.
Oh.
Like, like I was like, this is good. 2 and 2, it's on the YouTubes, it's on the Spotify's, and it's on all the things. It's a sensation I've had several times with several people where you hear somebody and they've got a song that is, not only is it a good song, but it's a song that really is coming from a very pure place inside of somebody.
Right.
The same thing happened with Ben Lauren from No Address, where it was less about, the songs he had, we performed for a while, but we never wound up really recording them. But what was more important was it was like, oh, this is what you really believe in. You know what I mean? Like this is you. And something about that matchup, I get almost like a physical sensation. I'm like, oh, let's do that. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Right. So we did Adrienne O, and that was a whole journey of learning how to write together and write separately and then put it together later.
Yep. And we had conversations about like, who am I as an artist? Who am I in the world? Who am I? Like, what's the thing inside me that is real that we're going to take out and amplify?
Right.
It's a hard question to answer on your own.
It's not something you're going to sit down and answer in an hour. You need to think about it over time. Yeah.
And we had the idea that we would be pursuing, 80s inspired synth music.
Yeah.
Because I'm a child of the 80s musically. I'm not sure we really nailed it the first time around. I feel like this time around we're doing much better with getting sounds that we want to get, and we're not pursuing 80s sounds anymore.
No, we're just doing whatever we feel like now. But
you helped me figure out what kind of attitude to bring out of all the possible attitudes, and even down to how to dress. We spent
a lot of time talking about looks.
You're good at that. I would like bring a whole pile of clothes, and
I'm weirdly good at.
I know it's strange. Yeah. You just wear jeans and t-shirts all the time, but you're good at picking stuff for people to wear.
Yeah, it's sort of like I can't do graphic design or art, but like I can art direct.
Yeah. Like you're good at directing videos. You get the vision for the video.
Right.
And then we fill it in together. And
that's a weird musical skill that is maybe underestimated, is just or not just underestimated. No one ever talks about that, but that the skill of refining a vision and then pursuing that vision and being able to stay on, brand of where you went. Caitlin has a question, so we're going to answer that.
Okay. Hi, Caitlin.
Adrienne, what's your advice on learning how to add emotion when singing?
Oh.
I've talked about this specific topic, but I would love to hear your take on
it. One thing I will do is focus on what the words actually are, which sounds like an obvious thing to say. But sometimes, especially when we've taken voice lessons, we get so caught up in the proper placement and the mouth opening and all the technical things we're doing, breath support and stuff, and we forget what we're actually saying.
Right.
So focusing on what the words are as they come out is one thing. You can also break down your lyrics and assign emotions or like trigger words to each section. So it could be, you know, this part is tender, this part is nostalgic, this part is uh, angsty. I don't know. You can kind of plan that out in advance. I don't do that for pop and rock. I have done that for the little musical theater I've done because musical theater songs tend to have a lot of motion. There's a lot of density,
Right.
you know, and a pop or rock tune tends to have a couple of emotional colors. There's a little journey, but it's not like every single line is telling a new big part of the story. And then a third thing I would say is if you're singing original music, connect back to why you wrote this song.
Yeah, that's a great
You know,
one.
take a moment if you can, if you're not on stage at the moment, but you know, when you're practicing, think back to the actual moments in time that made you write that song and think about the smells and the sights and the feelings and all the senses that you felt when you were in that point in time, whether it was the moment this guy broke up with you and what the temperature was outside and what you were wearing and I don't know.
That's
So yeah,
very much the that's a lot of the same stuff I would say, you know, finding that triggering thing that lets you get back into it,
right,
you know,
right.
well, like you said, all those physical details and
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I have one more piece of advice. So number 4 here for this answer. So if you're doing covers, you might be singing about something that isn't literally something that happened to you or isn't specific or you don't have, you know, a direct connection to the story you're telling, but you have as a human, you have a connection to the emotion that that story represents. And that's probably why you like the song.
Yeah.
You know, I love the song I Built This House or something like that by Miranda Lambert.
The House That Built
The
Me.
House That Built Me. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
You know, and there's a line there about like, bet you didn't know there's an old whatever, my, you know, dog buried under the tree in the backyard. And I do not have a dog buried under the tree. I don't even have a dog anymore. But that sense of knowing the secrets of a place that you grew up in, that no one ever is ever going to know that well.
Right.
And just like when I go back to Phoenix, if I ever drive by my old house that I grew up in from when I was 6, I know secrets about that place. I have memories about that place that the current owners are never going to have.
Right.
And so that's the connection. You find your own connection to the underlying emotion.
Yeah.
That a good song is storytelling you.
Yeah. That is yeah, no, that's great stuff. I mean, that's the kind of thing we talk about. You know, specifically going back one step to rock and pop, and how it often is a simpler thing. That's why I often talk about just getting a single image or maybe it's even like a scene from a movie or it's something, but just gets you into sad or gets you into sassy or gets you into mad or gets you into happy. And
there are emotion wheels out there in the world. I have one. Feel free to text me if you have my number or you contact us. I can send you a copy of an emotion wheel, which is so you're not just stuck with sad, happy,
right,
in love, angry. You know, there's all these infinite emotions, and so I have a couple of emotion wheels that help you fine tune. You know, increase your language of emotions, so you have a greater palette to play with.
Yeah. And okay, so AZ0R22, someone in Greece is getting neglected by us on the chat. I'm sorry, there's like a YouTube pop-up in front of the chat thing. And yeah, we're not great at this. And I've got a cat distracting me. So thank you so much for watching. We'll definitely hit you back in the comments. Moving from doing cover stuff into original stuff, we did 3 records with AO.
Yeah, we did 3 EPs. Yeah.
3 EPs. We've kind of come back to that. We of course do the Tom Petty, Stevie Nicks tribute, Petty Nicks experience. And you're Stevie Nicks, and obviously the lead of that show. Shanti, just stay on the lap. How hard is that?
You're falling off the picture over there.
I am.
Yeah.
Here we go.
There you go.
All right. What would you say has been the biggest development in the last few years for you? We've started doing. I mean, AO did some big shows, but you know, it was not always, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
But kind of becoming.
Oh, my crowd control skills is by far the biggest thing.
Talk about that a little bit. Crowd control skills.
So my ability to connect with the crowd and guide the crowd and even trick them into doing what I want them to do.
It's part of it.
I mean, that's a cynical way to say it. I would say guide them into doing, not trick. Nobody's being tricked.
Yeah.
But guide them to the experience that I want them to have has grown so much. I mean, you know, your journey of being on stage is like, first time, just get through the song singing on time and in pitch.
And that's fun.
That's success
that's
right there.
Great.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you go, you know, you start to gain confidence so that you're not freaked out when you're on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start to gain stage skills if you actually work on them, like I did.
Right.
You know, just having the tools of the stage and the skills of moving around and introducing songs and using the mic and the mic stand like the tools they are, that kind of stuff, the basics. And then you start exploring who you are within this framework of performance. You know, yeah, I have a mic and a mic stand, but like, am I going to use it like Prince? Am I going to use it like Stevie Nicks, which is not at all just holding on to the damn thing, or everything in between? Am I, you know, am I going to swing?
Yeah.
Please don't, by the way. So you start developing your own ways of performing. And I would say even beyond that is connecting with the crowd. It's not about like, hey, look how cool I am. I can do all these things on stage. It's about feeling the room. What's the temperature of the room?
Yeah.
Are people with me? Are people not with me? If they're not with me, why is that? And what can we do to fix it? If they're with me, where can I take them?
Yeah.
How far can I take them?
Right.
What do I need to do to make them buy in even more? And that's, I mean, I never even understood how that happened, but I'm so fortunate to have had the number of hours on stage I've had, and the number of gigs I've had, and the audience sizes that I've had with Petty Nicks experience to be able to play with that.
Right. That, I mean, I would say that's the one thing that took me the longest to start talking about, and we talk about it all the time, but because it's so important, is that connecting with the crowd and being a part of the crowd, meaning not like you're in the audience, but really just trying to connect, and that it's not just performing for a crowd, like, hey, you guys sit quietly while I do this thing.
Yeah.
It's about connecting and getting, you know, just a finding that connection with people. Sometimes it feels, I also might be crazy. I always qualify this. Sometimes to me, it almost feels like an audible click when it like, oh, there we go. That's when it happens. And I could totally be fooling myself, but there is just a time when it happens where you just kind of go like, you know, oh, that was it.
Now they're with us.
Yeah. Now they're with us.
As an audience member, I feel it like a sudden collapse of distance. Like I go to the concert, and as much as I love the artist, I'm like, yeah, okay, we're here, whatever, you know, I'm watching, I'm here, they're there.
Right.
And then there's always a moment where that distance collapses and then my eyes zoom in and all I can see is them. Like, no matter how far away I am, the top of Red Rocks, I don't care. All I see is them. And I there's like no emotional distance between me and them anymore. And when that happens, it's damn near instant.
Yeah.
So that's probably
sort of what I mean. It's just like, yeah. It's one of the awesome things about performing, and it's one of the things I think to keep as a goal as a performer, rather than trying to impress people or rather than trying to like whatever, is just like just try and connect. And even if you made the point early on, maybe you're just getting through the songs, and that's fine too. But I always advise people to try to find a moment in the set where just take a minute and take the crowd in. Like, it doesn't even have to be during a song, just whether it's in between songs, whether it's the end, wherever it is, take a minute to just take the crowd in and be there with them and think about how cool it is that you're getting to do what you're doing. All those things.
I would like to point out, at least for me, I mean, people have different reasons that they want to be on stage. For me, it's not an ego thing. It's not I'm completed when I have the attention on me thing. It's not that at all. I've always been the kind of person who wanted to put on a party so that I could watch everybody else have fun.
Oh,
I like to be the party host. And so now that I'm in a project where we can kind of be the party hosts.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're the center of attention, but that's not, it's only because that's our job. Like, our job is to make this thing happen. The reward that I get is bringing everybody together and guiding everybody to have an experience. And that is what makes it worth it to me, because I've always felt like it was a bit almost selfish to just want to have a gig and get up on stage and be like, watch me perform. Here's my cool songs,
Right.
You know, without any consideration to what that means to the listener.
Right. Yeah, very much.
I mean, it's a fine line too, because we just did a show at the Hard Rock Cafe of original music. And that was very much about me expressing myself. Like, I have angst and I'm going to put it in these songs and we're going to play these songs. And I don't know if I've figured out how to make the audience feel the journey of that show yet.
Right.
And again, that's the first time we ever did that show. So it takes a while.
And that's something to always keep in mind. It is a journey, and it does take time.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I guess what I have to say is where we've arrived at with the Petty Nicks experience feels much more selfless, feels more generous than, say, the beginning of the Adrienne O band, where it was just like, I hope I get a gig. I hope they like me. Right. I hope I get through my songs. Like, I'm just happy to be on stage. Because it's not about, I don't want it to be about me.
Right.
I want it to be about us.
Right.
And now with the Petty Nicks experience, it is about us. I'm the guide, but it's about us.
Yeah. And that is so great. I mean, that is, as we're talking about artist development stuff, I mean, that is what a development from the early days of
of like hoping I can hit that note,
and then moving on to, I'm just going to focus on mic stand technique this gig, and then I'm going to focus on this gig, and then now it's becoming that thing. It's sort of what I talk about, where the rules of stage performing kind of go away when you stop performing,
right?
Because you eventually get to the point that I feel you're at, very much, where you are not consciously performing anymore. You're just being a part of the show. You're just being on stage.
I'm trying to communicate something.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to connect.
And it's, yeah.
And we connected with the audience at the Hard Rock.
Yeah. I mean, it's, no one said anything mean. Anyway.
That you passed on.
No. So thank you for taking the time to do this.
Of course.
Guys, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us. Our friend in Greece, I'll hit you in the comments. I'm new at this. We're new at this. It's going to get better eventually. Anyway, guys, we're going to go eat burritos. So we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.